Namo Buddhaya, Sukihontu, Sawaka, Sawika. Most likely this will be the last session for the MARANASATI. We left behind the last session, verse 4 of the Anicca Vata Sankhara about the impermanency of life. So we start with verse 4 straight away because there's a lot to cover tonight.
Uttamati dhanamati iti balo vihanyati attahi attano nati kuto puta kuto danang.
Okay, Seti. Okay, you can have either with the long E, okay, in the end or without, okay, right? So Seti means a millionaire. Waktu is a story, a ground, field, plot, or object. Okay, here Ananda Seti Vatu means the story of Ananda, the millionaire. Not Ananda the attendant, Ananda the millionaire. This is in Dhammapada 62, chapter 5. Bala Vaga, Bala means the fool. Okay, chapter on the fool. Vaga is the chapter. Okay, so this verse is the contemplation on the loss of children and the loss of wealth. It is also found in Dhammadasa or Mirror of the Dhamma, Parita Chanting. Buddha means a son, a child. Okay, so Buddha is plural, sons are children. Ati is to exist, to be, I have. So Buddha plus M plus Ati becomes Buddha Manti, means I have children. Okay, it's a compound word. And when you add two words between two A, two R, you add an M there. So dana means wealth or riches, or danang in the accusative case is wealth, same thing. So dana mati means I have wealth. So buta manti means I have children. Dana mati means I have wealth. Ket means with this or this way, also used as a full stop. Because original Pali actually no full stop, but modern one we add full stop. Otherwise, you don't know where to stop. Okay, Balo is a fool, but it can also refer to a child and young in years or ignorant. Vihanyati means tormented or experience physical and mental suffering or afflicted, to be vexed or grief, to suffer hardship. So iti balo vihati, with this means the feelings of attachment. The feeling of attachment, the fool is tormented. Atta means oneself or soul. He means indeed or certainly. Attahi, he himself or one's own self. Atano is his own. Ati is to exist, to be, to have. Nati with an A in front. Na ati. Nati is not. Na is not a negative. Atano nati is not his own. Atahi atano nati. Indeed, he himself is not his own. Kuto means how can. Whence, where from. Kuto buta guto danang. How can children and wealth be his? So, verse 4, Ananda Seti Vatu Dhammapada 62, chapter 5, Balawaga. Buddha mati dana mati iti balo vihanyati atahi atano nati kuto puta kuto danang. I have children, I have wealth. With these feelings of attachment, the fool is tormented. Indeed, he himself is not his own. how can children and wealth be his? So it tells us not to be attached to our children, to our wealth. Okay? Because at the point of death, we got to let go all this. Kata-kata on Dhammapada, verse 62, chapter 5. Balawaga. Kata-kata means the commentary. So, Anandasati Watu, ignorance brings suffering. So, while residing at the Chetavana monastery in Savatthi, the Buddha uttered this verse to a very stingy rich guy named Ananda. So this wealthy man, Ananda in Savatthi, despite his wealth, he was reluctant to give anything to charity. So to his son, Mula Siri, he used to say, don't think the wealth we have now is a lot, okay? Do not give away anything, for you must make our wealth grow as much as possible. Otherwise, it will dwindle away. So this rich man had 5 pots of gold buried in his house, and he died without telling or revealing the location to his son. So Ananda was reborn in a village of beggars not far from Savatthi, and from the time his mother was pregnant, the collection of the beggars decreased. Collection means the community of the beggars there decreased. The villagers thought that there must be a wicked and unfortunate guy among them. So they start analyzing among themselves, and by the process of elimination, they concluded that the pregnant beggar must be the one who bring all this misfortune to them. So the mother was driven out of the village. When her son was born, the son proved to be extremely ugly and repulsive. If she went out begging by herself, she will get as before. Get as before means she will get her normal alms. But if she goes out with her son, she will get nothing. So when the boy could go by himself, the mother placed a plate in his hand and left him. As he wandered about in Savatthi, he remembered his old house suddenly occurred to his mind and his past existence. So he walked into the house. So when the sons of his son, Mula Siri, saw him, they were frightened. Frightened, why? Because he's so ugly and repulsive. So the children began to cry. Then the servants will beat him up and throw him out of the house. So at that time, the Buddha was on alms round, saw the incident, and asked Venerable Ananda to fetch Munasiri. When Munasiri came, the Buddha told him that the young beggar that your servant hit him just now was his own father in his previous existence. But Munasiri could not believe it. So the Buddha directed the beggar boy to show where he had buried his 5 pots of gold. Then Munasiri learned that it was really true, and from that time onwards, he became a devoted lay disciple of the Buddha. So then the Buddha spoke in verse Dhammapada 62 as follows: Putta mati dana mati iti balo vihamyati atahi atanonati kuto putta kuto danang. I have children, I have wealth. With these feelings of attachment, the fool is tormented. Indeed, he himself is not his own. How can the children and wealth be his or be yours? So this is the significance of Dhammapada 62. Anandasati Vatu, ignorance brings suffering. Number 1, the unwise man or the fool prides himself over his children, his sons, and his wealth. But he has not even himself. How can the sons and the wealth be his? Atahi atano nati. The fools tax themselves, thinking that they have sons, they have wealth, but in reality, themselves are not their own. So if their self were their own, they will be able to control it as they wish. But they cannot control their body. They grow old, they decay, and they fall ill. Unexpected things happen to them. So how can they think that they possess themselves? Grains wealth, silver, gold, and whatever property, slaves, craftsmen, all these have to be abundant when at the deathbed. But whatever one does through deed, word, or thought, that alone belongs to him. That alone he takes with him. And that alone follows him like the inseparable shadow. So it is our karmic evolutions that we take along with us. All beings die. Life ends in death. Beings fare according to their deeds, experiencing the results of both their meritorious and demeritorious deeds. Those who do evil go to apaya, the woeful states, and those who do good attain blissful states. Therefore, let us all do good deeds. We serve as a storehouse for life after this. Meritorious deeds are great support to beings in the future world. The next verse, Dhammapada 63, further reiterates as follows. Yo balo mayati bayang pandito wapi tena so. Balo cha pandita mani sawe balo ti uchati. The fool who knows that he is a fool can, for that reason, be a wise man. But what is even worse is the fool who thinks that he is wise is indeed a very, very big fool. Now we go on to the next topic, three sineta, or the three characteristics of existence, tilakkhana. Introduction. Like the concept of tilakkhana forms the essential basis of foundation for understanding the Buddha's career path of emancipation, vimokkha. The three universal characteristic or properties of all existing things of the phenomenal world are anicca, dukkha, and anatta. It is the contemplation of these universal characteristic of all compounded things and processes, sankhara, and of all phenomena, dhammas, that leads to true insight, vipassana, and enlightenment, bodhiyana. The realization of these fundamental truths can thus be regarded as the key to the highest spiritual perfection afforded by the Buddha Dhamma. We often use the term seeing things as it is. What do you mean seeing things as it is? That means seeing the three characteristics of sankhara, anicca, dukkha, and anatta. And once we are able to see this through insights, we are on the way to nibbana. Anicca. Anicca means that nothing can be permanent, everlasting entity, as everything that arises will fall. Anything that arises will cease, right? Anicca vakta sankhara, upada vaya dhammino, upachitwa niruchanti, tesang upo samo sukho. That was our last lesson. We went into great details, which says that all component things are indeed transient. Upada vaya dhammino. Dhammino, it means of the nature. They are of the nature to arise and decay. Having come into being, they cease to be. Now, the three characteristics tilakkhana is found in Mahaparinibbana Sutta, Dikha Nikaya 16. The Buddhist law of anicca finds classical expression in the famous formula Sabbe Sankhara Anicca, which occurs in the Chula Sachaka Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 35. In the Mahavagga of Anguttara Nikaya or Numerical Discourse 7.62, the Tathagata admonishes his disciple thus: impermanent monks are all sankharas. Hence, not a cause for comfort and satisfaction are all sankharas. So much so that one must get tired of all these sankharas, be disgusted with them, and be completely free of them. It is declared In the Samyutta Nikaya 12.31, Buddha Sutta, what has come to be? Whatever has come is of the nature of passing away. Yang butang tang nirodang damang. The ethical significance of the law of Anicca is well brought up in the Mahasudassana Sutta, Dukkha Nikaya 17, where the Buddha tells Ananda about the past glories of King Sudassana, about his cities, treasures, palaces, elephants, women, and so on, about his great achievement, and finally his death, only to draw one simple moral conclusion. Behold, Ananda, how all these sankharas are now dead and gone, have passed and vanished away. Thus, Anicca, Ananda, are these sankharas. Untrustworthy are they. And this, Ananda, is enough to be wary of, to be tired of, to be disgusted with, and to be completely free of such sankharas. Dukkha. Dukkha is the universal characteristic of all samsaric existence. The main concern of the Buddha was to impart to the suffering humanity the problem of dukkha and to show the way to liberation from dukkha. The Buddha had repeatedly asserted that the object of his Buddha Dhamma was thus. As the Tathagata did formerly, even now the Tathagata preached about dukkha and the cessation of dukkha. The first concept of dukkha in its totality was formulated by the Buddha in the first discourse, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, wherein he identified the following as 8 manifestations of dukkha. Jati, birth; jara, old age or decay; yadi, disease; marana, death; apiyehi, sapayogo, to be united with the unpleasant; pihehi, vipayogo, separation from the beloved; yang pichang na labati tang, failure in getting what one desires; pancha upadana kanda, the 5 aggregates of attachment. So these are the 8 dukkha. So the word dukkha, suffering itself, is not good enough. So it's better to use the word dukkha. What it means is all these 8. In the Satya Vibhanga Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 141, discourse on the analysis of the truth, the Buddha extended the list to an additional 5 manifestations. And these are the 5. Soka, grief; parideva, lamentation; dukkha, agony or extreme physical and mental suffering; domanassa, melancholy or sad; and upayasa, tribulation or state of immense trouble and suffering. Because all conditioned things are anicca, and because we fail to recognize this, and instead we cling on to them as if they are nicca or permanent, and it will arise suffering, bring about suffering, pain, unsatisfactoriness, sorrow, affliction, anxiety, discomfort, anguish, and so on. All these are called dukkha. In the Dukkata Sutta, dukkha means suffering, right? So dukkata means types of suffering. So discourse on the types of suffering, Samyutta Nikaya 45.165. Monks, there are these 3 kinds of suffering. What 3? Dukkha is the suffering of physical and mental pain. It refers to the physical and emotional discomfort and pain that all humans experience in their life. Next, we have viparinama dukkha, which is the suffering of anicca, change, the suffering that we have experienced due to anicca. And sankhara dukkha is the suffering of existence. Dukkha is physical and mental pain from the inevitable stresses of life. Viparinama dukkha is the distress we feel as a result of anicca, such as the pain of failing to get what we want or losing what we hold dear. Sankhara dukkha is a kind of existential suffering, the ends of being human, of living a conditioned existence. The fact that being born, we are subject to rebirth again and again due to abhisankhara. Abhisankhara is the new sankharas that we create to lengthen our cycle of rebirth. These three types of dukkha is also found in Visuddhimagga and the Dukkha Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 38.14, discourse on stress. So the Noble Eightfold Path is to be developed for direct knowledge of these three kinds of suffering, for the full understanding of these three types of suffering, for the utter destruction of these three types of suffering, and for their abandonment. This is found in Dukkha Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 45.165. So the purpose of the Noble Eightfold Path, walking the Noble Eightfold Path, is to destroy or to abandon all these three types of dukkha. The relatedness of the three characteristics is brought out in the Yada Nicca Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 22.15. What is impermanent? So the Buddha said, bhikkhus, form is impermanent. What is impermanent is suffering. What is suffering is non-self. What is non-self should be seen as it really is, with correct wisdom. Thus, this is not mine, this am I not, this is not myself. Nitang mama, niso ha masmi, na miso atta. And this is repeated again with besides form, we repeat it with feeling, perception, volitional formations, and consciousness. Anatta. Upon careful examination, one finds that no phenomenon is really I or mine. These concepts are in fact constructed by the mind. By analyzing the constantly changing physical and mental constituents, that is the khandhas, of an individual, the practitioner comes to the conclusion that neither the individual parts or the respective parts nor the person as a whole comprise a self. So the characteristic of not self or anatta is embodied in the dictum Sabbe Dhamma Anatta, which means all things are without self or all existence is without self. Sabbe Dhamma. Now the Dhammas include all compounded things, which is the Sankhara, and also the uncompounded state of Nibbana. So it's significant that while the characteristic of Anicca and Dukkha are applicable only to all Sankharas, to all compounded things, but not to Nibbana. Okay? Nibbana is not Anicca, Nibbana is not Dukkha. So for Nibbana is only not self. So the characteristic of Anatta is applicable to all Dhamma, which include both Sankharas and also Nibbana. So the concept of Anicca, Dukkha, and Anatta, though distinct in their character, are actually interrelated and interdependent. So the Buddha explains in the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 22.59, discourse on non-self as follows. So the Buddha take the aggregates, the five aggregates, taking one by one, in turn, are impermanent. Deriving from impermanence and inseparability from change, they are painful. Deriving from painfulness, they are not self. Why? Because painfulness is inconsistent with a self which should possess the character of internal bliss. Because who wants pain? Who wants to suffer? So if that is a self, no one will suffer. But why do we suffer? Because there's no self. So the three concepts are so fundamental, so to form the three cornerstones of the whole edifice of Buddhism. So this is a Dhamma talk by the late Bhante Punyati, a short one on Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta.
Panya refers to understanding the Dhamma in the proper way, which is to understand three things: Anicca, Dukkha and Anatta. Anicca means that everything in the world comes and goes, arises and decays. Dukkha means that whatever happens in the world is not happening as we want. That is, our desires are in conflict with the realities of life. The reality of life is that it comes and goes. Now, we want things to be permanent, but everything is impermanent and not behaving as we want. So that makes us unhappy. And the third is Anatta, which means that we do not own anything in the world. We cannot possess and own things. Even our own body is not behaving as we want. It is not really under our power. And if it is not under our power, it is not something that belongs to me. It is not mine. The body is not mine, and even the mind is not behaving as we want. So there is nothing that we call mine in the world. That is why there is nothing to call myself. So understanding these things in life, we give up all attachments to things. And that brings an end to all suffering, all unhappiness.
Okay. So this is a new topic. Tilakana Bhavana, new verse, sorry. Tilakana Bhavana, introduction. Sabbe Sankara Anichati, Sabbe Sankara Dukkati, Sabbe Sankara Anattati. So these three stanzas are found in Dhammapada, verses 277, 278, and 279. Also found in Upada Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 3.136. Now, only two stanzas are found. Sabbe Sankara Anicca and Sabbe Dhamma Anatta are found in Chula Sachaka Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 35, and Chana Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 22.90. And only one stanza, Sabbe Dhamma Anatta, is found in Ananda Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 44.10. So you can, after this session, when you're free, you can just go and check your Nikayas and the suttas. We will go through here next. So Upada Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 3.136, arising or coming into existence. Upada means arising or coming into existence. Discourse on the orderliness of the Dharma. That means this is a kind of Dharma Niyama. Monks, whether or not there is the rising of Tathagata, this property stands. This steadfastness of the Dharma, this orderliness of the Dharma. All conditioned phenomena are transient. All conditioned phenomena are unsatisfactory, dukkha, and all dharmas are not self. The Tathagata directly awakens to that, breaks through to that. He declares it, teaches it, describes it, sets it forth. He reveals it, explains it, and makes it plain. Sabbe Sankara Anicca, Sabbe Sankara Dukkha, Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. So you can see the last one from Sankara become Dhamma because Dhamma includes both Sankara and Nibbana. So in the Chula Sachaka Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 35, the shorter discourse to Sachaka, according to Majjhima Atthakatha, there's the Majjhima commentary. Sachaka was the son of Nikanta, the Jain adherents, whose parents were very skillful in philosophical debate. So although Sachaka considered defeat in the debate, he still considered himself a saint, and thus was not moved to seek protection from the triple gem. So in the discussion below, he is called by his tribal name, Ajivesana. This is how I discipline my disciples, Ajivesana, and this is how my instruction is usually presented to my disciples. Because material form is impermanent, feeling is impermanent, perception is impermanent, formations are impermanent, consciousness is impermanent. Because material form is not self, feeling is not self, perception is not self, formations are not self, consciousness is not self. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. All formations are impermanent, all things are not self. Sabbe Sankara Anicca, Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. This is the way I discipline my disciples, and that is how my instruction is usually presented to my disciples. Okay, so next in the Chana Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 22.90 with Chana. At one time, there were several elder monks staying near Varanasi in Isipatana, the deer park. Then in the late afternoon, Venerable Chana came out of retreat and went from dwelling to dwelling, saying, "May the Venerable Elder Monks advise and instruct me, give me instructions, give me a talk, so that I can see the teaching of the Buddha." The other monks spoke to Venerable Chana. Venerable Chana, form, feeling, perception, choices. Choices here is mental fabrications. And consciousness, vijnana, are impermanent. Form, feeling, perception, choices, and consciousness are not self. So, Sabbe Sankara Anicca, Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. These two words are found. Unlike the earlier one, three. So, Ananda Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 44.10, Ananda, is there a self? Then the wanderer, Vachakota, approached the Buddha and said, "How is it now, Master Gotama? Is there a self?" The Buddha was silent. Then, "Master Gotama, is there no self?" Second time, the Buddha was silent. Then the wanderer, Vachakota, rose from his seat and left. So not long after Vachakota left, Venerable Ananda said to the Pleasant One, "Why is it, Venerable Sir, that when the Pleasant One was questioned by Vachakota, he did not answer?" Ananda, if I had answered, "There is a self," this would have been siding with those ascetics and Brahmins who are internalists. And if I had answered, "There is no self," this would have been siding with those ascetics and Brahmins who are annihilationists. So if Ananda, when I was asked by Vajrakota, is there a self? And I had answered, there is a self, would this have been consistent on my part with the arising of the knowledge that all phenomena are no self? Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. So, Venerable answer to the Buddha, no, Venerable Sir. And if when I asked by him, is there no self? And if I answered there is no self, the Venerable Vajrakota would become more confused, would have fallen into even greater confusion, thinking it seems that the self I formerly had does not exist. Okay, so that is the reason why the Buddha remains silent. So in this sutta, the Alanda Sutta, you can find only Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. Please proceed, Sister Sumitra. Okay, Tilakana. We will now go through the Dhammapada verses 277, 278, and 279. So, first one, 277, Anicca Lakkhana, Sabbe Sankhara Anicchati, Yada Panyaya Pasati, Atta Dibidati Dukkha, Asa Mago Visuddhiya. Sabbe means all, Sankhara means conditioned phenomena, dependently arising. Everything is due to causes and conditions. Anicca, impermanent or not stable, and always in a constant flux. Iti or ti means thus, or to show that a sentence is completed. That means a full stop. So Sabbe Sankhara Anicchati means all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. Yada means when or whenever. Panyanya, with wisdom or insight. Pasati means to see, to find, to understand, to discern, to realize. Panyanya pasati. Realize, one realize this with insight. Yada panyanya pasati. When one realize this with insight. Atta means then and also. Dibindati means to get wearied of or to be disgusted with. Dukkha means suffering, pains, misery, agony. Atta nibidati dukkha. One becomes weary of dukkha. That is the khandhas. Weary means reluctant to experience any more of that. You get tired of all this dukkha. Asa means that person or this is. Mago means the path. Visuddhiya means the total freedom of blemishes. Blemishes here refers to the kilesas. To purity means to nibbana. Eso, Mago, Visuddhiya, this is the path to purity. So all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. When one realizes this with insight through vipassana meditation, then one becomes wary of dukkha. This is the path to purity. This is the path to nibbana. Okay, we can go on to verse 2. Okay. Dukkha Lakkhana, Sabbe Sankhara Dukkhati, Yada Panyaya Pasati, is Atta Dibidati Dukkha, Asa Mago Visuddhiya. All conditioned phenomena are dukkha. When one realizes this with insight, then one becomes wary of dukkha. This is the path to purity, to nibbana. Anatta Lakkhana. Because the rest, the last three is all the same, only the Anicca, Dukkha, and Anatta take turns. All phenomena or dhammas, Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. So because Sankhara is conditioned phenomena, Anatta. But Nibbana is also Anatta, not self. Nibbana don't have so it should be dhammas. So all dhammas, that means both conditioned and unconditioned, both sankhata and asankhata. So all phenomena, dhammas, are without self. When one realizes this with insight, then one becomes wary of dukkha. This is the path to purity, nibbana. So Atakata commentary on Dhammapada 277, 278, 279 is under chapter 20, Magavaga, the way or the path. While residing at Jetavana monastery, the Buddha uttered these Dhammapada verses with reference to three groups of 500 bhikkhus each. On Anicca, 500 bhikkhus, after receiving the subject of meditation from the Buddha, he went into the forest and practiced meditation. However, they made little progress. So they went back to the Buddha to request for another meditation subject to suit them better. Then on reflection, the Buddha found that those bhikkhus had, during the time of Kassapa Buddha, meditated on Anicca. So he said, bhikkhus All conditioned phenomena are subject to change and decay and are therefore impermanent. Then the Buddha spoke in verse, Sabbe Sankara Anichati Yada Panyanya Pasati Atta Nibidati Dukkha Esa Mago Visuddhiya. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. When one realizes this with insight, then one becomes wary of dukkha. This is the path to purity, nibbana. At the end of this discourse, these 500 bhikkhus attain arahantship. So it's not difficult, it's not difficult. On dukkha. Okay, the story is the same as the story of Anicca. Here the Buddha, on reflection, found that another group of 500 monks had meditated on dukkha during the time of Kassapa Buddha. So he said, because all khandhas aggregate are oppressive and unsatisfactory. Thus all khandhas are dukkha. Then the Buddha spoke in verse, Sabbe Sankara Dukkhati Yada Panyanya Pasati. Atta Nibidati Dukkha Esa Mago Visuddhiya. All conditioned phenomena are dukkha. When one realizes this with insight, then one becomes wary of dukkha. This is the path to purity, nibbana. So at the end of this discourse, all the 500 monks also attain arahantship. So on 279, so on Anatta, the story is the same as the stories on Anicca, Dukkha. So reflection found this another 5 group of 500 monks has meditated on insubstantiality or non-self. So he said, bhikkhus, all khandha aggregates are insubstantial. They are not subject to one's control. Therefore, they are anatta. Then the Buddha spoke in verse, Sabbe Dhamma Anattati. Yada Panyanya Pasati. Atta Nibidati Dukkha Esa Mago Visuddhiya. All phenomena or dhammas are without self. When one realizes this with insight, then one becomes wary of dukkha. This is the path to purity. This is the path to nibbana. At the end of the discourse, those 500 bhikkhus also attain arahantship. So this is the commentary, Atthakatha. On Anatta, transient are all conditioned phenomena, sorrowful are all conditioned phenomena, everything is without self. Significance of Dhammapada 277, all conditioned phenomena are transient and impermanent. Disillusionment through this knowledge lead to release. So anicca implies that all forms of existence end up in decay, old age, and death. This applies to all conditioned phenomena with the exception of nibbana. Whoever constantly keeps in mind the fact that he would someday be subjected to death and that death is inevitable will be eager to fulfill his duties to his fellow man before death. And this will certainly make him heedful in respect of the world and the next. It has therefore been said that a monk who is engaged in the thought of death is ever heedful. Maranasati manuyuto bhikkhu satatang apamato oti. So that is why Maranasati, contemplation on death, is so important on a daily basis. It must be noted, however, that Buddhism never advocated dejection and neglect of one's duties by pondering over death, Maranasati. On the contrary, what is taught in Buddhism is the fulfillment of one's duties and obligations in the best possible way, even on the deathbed or on the eve of death. The life of the Buddha is a role model for all of us to follow. The Buddha has expressed his categorical disapproval of the postponement of one's duties. So the Buddha never encouraged procrastination. the Buddha said, Ajewa kichang atapang ko janya maradang suve. Today itself, we should strive to do whatever we need to do to accomplish our tasks. For who knows whether death will strike tomorrow? Who knows? We will die in the next moment. In the Uraga Jataka, there is the Jataka on the snake. Recounts how a father, when his only son lay dead, bitten by a snake, sent news of the incident to the inmates of the house, and without waiting their arrival, continued to work, continued to plow his field. He was a person who regularly practiced meditation on death. He was a bodhisattva. By thus reflecting on the inevitability of death, one becomes increasingly active in the performance of one's duties. One also develops a sense of fearlessness towards death. Furthermore, such a person takes care not to commit the slightest akusala karma that is likely to cause suffering in the next world. He also becomes a free person who has forsaken all bonds and all attachments to his beloved ones and other objects. Okay, so the Buddha does not encourage lamentation. Both monks and laity, unmindful of death and considering themselves as immortals, are often heedless in cultivating virtues. They engage themselves in strife and argue among themselves and are often dejected with their hopes and aspiration shattered. At times, they postpone their work with the wish of doing it on a grand scale in the future, but end up without being able to do anything. Therefore, it is only proper that we should reflect daily on death. MARANASATI is the fourth of the Chaturaraka Bhavana prescribed by the Buddha. Ekadamo bhikkhave, bhavito bahulikato, ekanta dibidaya, viragaya, nirodaya, upasamaya, abhinyanya, sambodaya, nibbānaya, samvatati, katamo, ekadamo, maranasati. There is, O monks, one Dhamma which, when meditated upon and practiced constantly, leads to detachment from the world of becoming, freedom from all defilements, emancipation from worldly sorrows, acquisition of higher knowledge, realization of the Four Noble Truths, and attainment of Nibbana. What is this one Dhamma? The answer is, it is the constant reflection on death. The loftiness and significance of reflection on death is clearly conveyed by this doctrinal passage. Now we move on to significance of Dhammapada 278. All conditioned phenomena are sorrow fraught. This knowledge clears your path. The Four Noble Truths pivot around Dukkha. They deal with the knowledge of Dukkha, the cause of Dukkha, the sensation of Dukkha, and the way to the sensation of Dukkha. The truth regarding Dukkha tells us that all beings are subjected to birth, old age, disease, and death. Indeed, the five aggregates of Nama Rupa, Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana, all constitutes Dukkha. So the understanding of Dukkha is so important, of continual importance, and Samadhi, right view, is right view or right understanding is essential for the understanding of the real nature of the world. 2. The second noble truth deals with the cause of suffering. It is because of this tangha that all beings continue to be born and reborn in samsara. So the first we have the karma tangha, arises out of sakaya ditthi, or the idea that there exists an unchanging entity of permanent soul. So a person who is under such a delusion always strives to pander his five senses. Okay? Because most of us believe in the soul, in the self. So it's because of this we had karma tangha. We are attached to sensual desires. It's because of karma tangha that happiness is regarded as enjoyment through the five senses. Of course, this is a delusion. As karma tangha increases, dukkha increases. Thus, karma tangha is the cause of dukkha. Bhava tangha is the craving that arises in a being for continuation of life internally. This craving arises in a being who believes in the existence of an eternal soul, sasata ditti, internalism. Whereas vibhava tangha is the craving that arises in a being for the enjoyment of sensual pleasures as an end in itself. This craving arises because of the non-belief in an afterlife, ucheda ditti. They do not believe in the life after. Vibhava tangha. Samadhi is right understanding of the Four Noble Truths. The three forms of tangha: attachment to sensual pleasures, attachment to existence, attachment to non-existence, can only be eradicated by the Noble Eightfold Path. All conditioned phenomena are dukkha because all conditioned phenomena are anicca. Significance of Dhammapada 279. All things are without self. This illusionment leads to the path. The idea of a lack of soul or a permanent and abiding soul or Atman, this internal, is extremely difficult for most individuals to understand. In fact, at first, when I come into contact with Buddhism, it's so difficult for me to understand how come there's no soul. Okay? So long as man fails to see things as processes, he will never understand the Anatta theory, doctrine of the Buddha. In fact, to really understand Anatta, you got to understand paticca samuppada, dependent arising. He who sees paticca samuppada sees the Dhamma. He who sees the Buddha. He who sees the Buddha sees paticca samuppada. The three characteristics reflect the real nature of existence. They help us to deal with existence, what we learn to develop as a result of understanding tilakkhana is renunciation. Once we understand that existence is universally characterized by anicca, dukkha, and anatta, we eliminate our attachment to existence. Once we eradicate our attachment to existence, we gain the threshold of nibbana. This is the purpose served by the understanding of tilakkhana. It removes attachment by removing delusions. The misunderstanding that existence is permanent, is pleasant, and has something to do with the soul. That is why understanding the three characteristics tilakkhana is central to panya, wisdom. Last words of the Buddha.
The first word of the enlightened one are very important, and equally important are the last word. Of course, everything that is said from the first word to the last word all are important. But for a meditator, the first Anicca jati sansarang sandha vissanganibhisan, the first supernatural power that he got was the memory of the past lives. Past lives, eons after eons in the past. What happened? What happened? What happened? All that became so clear. And he found I've been working hard to come out of this cycle of the birth and death, and yet there was no way out. There was no way out. Because I couldn't understand why this birth after birth, every time there's a death, a new birth is there. The death and the new birth is there. Now who is building this new body for me? All that investigation was not successful. And now by this technique, he realized, he got enlightened because of that. It is only the darkness, the ignorance that we have. And in this ignorance, in this darkness, we keep on generating craving, aversion, craving, aversion. This is the cause which keeps life after life, life after life. It became so clear. And this, if it is eradicated, one comes out of it. This was so clear in the first word, that was his enlightenment. And the last word, Vai Dhamma Sankhara Appamadena Sampadeta. He found out the reason why misery comes and why misery keeps on multiplying, life after death, life after life, life after life. And now he gives a remedy to this sickness. Vai Dhamma Sankhara. Whatever gets composed is bound to get decomposed. Whatever gets created is bound to get decomposed, bound to get destroyed. All the sankharas are Vai Dhamma, are Anicca, Anicca, Anicca. Keep on realizing this reality without any kind of drowsiness, laziness. Remain alert about it. Vai Dhamma Sankhara Appamadena Sampadeta. This is the inheritance he has given us. This is the key he has given us to come out of our misery. As meditators, it's very important for us. Merely understanding the teaching of the Buddha at the intellectual level, merely accepting the teaching of the Buddha at the emotional level or devotional level is good only to give us inspiration, is good to give us guidance, but without experiencing it, we are not liberated. It is impossible. For liberation, the experience is most important, and that he emphasized Appamadena Sampadeta, Appamadena Sampadeta, Anicca, Anicca, Anicca. You keep on realizing this truth of Anicca, Anicca, you are getting liberated, liberated, liberated. You stop making new sankharas and the old ones get eradicated, eradicated, eradicated. A time comes when there is no more old sankhara and your habit pattern of generating new sankhara is gone, totally gone. You are a liberated person. For that, each individual has to work.
Okay, about the first word of the Buddha, right? Aneka jati samsarang sada visayang anibisang kaha karakang kavisanto dukkha jati punang. Dhammapada verse 153. Too many above are wandered in samsara, seeking, but cannot find the builder of this house, the architect of this house. Sorrowful, dukkha, is it to be reborn again and again and again. The next verse, 154. Gaha karaka titosi puna gehang na kahasi. Sabah te pasukang bagang gaha kutang visang kitang. Visang karakatang citang tanghanang kayang ajaga. O house builder, I have seen you. You will build no house again. All the rafters are broken. The ridge pole is shattered. My mind has attained the unconditioned asankata. Achieved is the end of craving. So this is the first verse of the Buddha immediately after enlightenment. And of course, the last word of the Buddha just now. Okay, next.
Life never dies, although we live in midst of change and death. Only the form shall pass away, and not the spirit's breath.
I just want to share the commentary on the last words of the Buddha, the first word of the Buddha immediately after his enlightenment. Okay, the two verses that we mentioned just now are sometimes referred as the Udana, or the first paean of joy, uttered by the Buddha immediately after his enlightenment. Okay, as the Venerable Anatta heard them from the lips of the Buddha, they have been inserted in the Dhammapada. Here the Buddha admits his past wandering in samsara, which is full of dukkha, a fact that proves the belief in rebirth. He was compelled to wander and consequently to suffer as long as he could not discover the architect who built this house. This house means this body, the five aggregates. In his final birth, he discovered by his own intuitive wisdom the elusive architect, dwelling not outside but within the recesses of his own heart. The architect was craving, or tanha, a self-created force, a mental element latent in all. And the discovery of this architect is the eradication of craving by attaining arahantship, which in this utterance is alluded to as the end of craving. The rafters of this self-created house are the kilesas, or the defilements. The ridge pole that supports the rafters is avijja, or ignorance, the root cause of all defilements. The shattering of the ridge pole of ignorance by wisdom results in the complete demolition of the house. The ridge pole and the rafters are the material with which the architect builds this undesired house. With their destruction, the architect is deprived of the materials to rebuild the house which is not wanted. With the demolition of the house, the mind attains the asankata, or the unconditioned state of nibbana. Okay, and one of the learnings here is we should see the Buddha's Mahaparinibbana as an inspiration for us. Okay, because the Buddha, when passes into Mahaparinibbana, is called the deathless state because that is his last death. He will not die again because there is no more rebirth. So that is an inspiration for all of us to follow. So whenever we go attend wakes, funerals, and we chant MARANGASATI chanting, we have to understand the meaning of the Buddha's wisdom. And when we watch the deceased lying in the coffin, we should contemplate that we, at any moment of time, could be the next person lying inside the coffin. So every wake or funeral that we attend is an opportunity for us to contemplate on Anicca, Dukkha, and Anatta, on the impermanency of life, on the fleeting nature of life, so that we can have this samvega, or the urgency, to walk the noble Eightfold Path. And with that, I end my sharing. And I think there's one more video, but the video by Ajahn Martin is quite long. I think it's almost half an hour. So we will oversee it. So you can watch it when you're free. Okay, so we will not watch it now. So maybe any one of you like to do any sharing or any thoughts that you like to share with the others. Maybe Dr. Henry, our new comer here, like to share any thoughts?
Thank you, brothers and sisters, for such a wonderful sharing. So many details, like almost the whole course crammed in one. Thank you. I must try to share this with my other friends. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
You like to share anything, Dr. Henry?
No, not really. But now I'm actually reading a wonderful book. I would strongly suggest that everyone buy a copy of this book.
Yes.
By Tan Chek Ming. It's one of the most readable book, and
Yeah. Okay. Buddhism
you.
for All by Brother Chek Ming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sadhu. Anyone else like to share? Brother Ko, like to share?
You have covered actually very comprehensive. But to me, I feel, how do we actually practice these three characteristics in such a way that it can lead to insight? Because for us lay people, I think it is not easy even just to do meditation. So to gather or to get into the insights may be a bit challenging. So if you have those what you call experience or something to share, it may be quite helpful for us. So that as a lay people, how do we practice, in our day-to-day what you call activities?
In our lay people activities, I think we have covered that in our previous sharing on the contemplation of the daily contemplation on death, of the nature to get old, of the nature to die. The 5 contemplations that the Buddha encouraged us to contemplate on this every day, So there must be a reason why the Buddha encouraged us to contemplate on this every day. You see, but whether we do it or not is individual lah. But do we really do it or not? Because if you keep contemplating on this every day, it will trigger the mind to have this urgency to walk the path. And the walking the path is actually not so much to become enlightened or to become a supreme being. No, it's to get enlightened is actually to get rid of samsara. We are so scared of suffering. The problem is the illusion is too thick for us. Like what we say, lay people. There's so much dust in our eyes. We still day in, day out, we enjoy sensual pleasures. Whether we like it or not, we enjoy sensual pleasures. A very simple example is, wow, durian very cheap. Go and eat. That is sensual pleasures. Greed for food or greed for anything. You see, greed for existence. You see, although we know, after learning so much Dharma, and yet we are still attached. Why? So, 2 things. We need to do meditation to purify our mind. We need to practice the teachings of the Buddha in our daily life, in addition to meditation. You see, like I think you often mention, metta is not just sitting on the mat, just radiate metta. But that is the beginning. It's a very strong point because that will purify your mind. But there is also another metta where you actually go out hands-on and help. So, you always mention, I can always recall you, Brother Ko, you always mention, we always talk about the passive, we also got the active part of it. Yeah, that's it now, the active part of it. So we should focus on the living out the Buddha's words. The Buddha has so much teachings. There's so rich in his teachings. In fact, for everyone, from all kind of people, all kind of character. But the problem is, whenever we attend a Dharma talk, we become very joyful, which is meritorious. But very often or not, it does not stick in our head. It does not get embraced in our heart and we don't live it up. That's the problem. That means the Dharma we hear is only lasts for few hours lah. Anicca lah. It's anicca lah. It is really anicca. And we got to see it is anicca. There's nothing wrong with it. It's anicca. But we have to see it. The problem is we don't see it. We don't realize it. Okay, now we thought we realize, but after that we'll forget. The same thing as, when we do Anapanasati, we become aware of our breath. That is when we are meditating. But every day when we go to work, sometimes we forgot that we are breathing. We are not aware of our breath. Sometimes when we are working. You see, it's the same thing. You see, so, the Buddha asks us to be, to practice mindfulness moment to moment, especially on death, because it says that we cannot procrastinate. Any moment of time, we can die. Because death is just one moment away. One breath in, cannot come out, means die already. Either one in, one out. There must be in, out continuously. It stops in one moment, that's it. We are gone. You see, especially people who die of heart attack, suddenly just gone like that. You see, and you can see in newspapers, people young and old. And recently, those actors and actresses, the recent actress who died of lupus. She's so young and she's so rich. You see? So maybe because of the past karma, whatever, but now we are so fortunate to live in the Buddha era sasana, and we are able to hear the Buddha's teaching. That is a blessing by itself. So what we want to do after we have learned the Buddha is our choice, whether we want to get out of samsara or not. Like most of us at beginning level, we focus on doing good. Yes, doing good. Okay, but at a much deeper level, we understand the Dharma. Once we understand the Dharma at the deeper level, our ultimate goal is actually Nibbana, getting at least Sotapanna in this very stage. Because the reason why is even Kusala karma is still considered Mara, It's Abhisankara, whether it's Kusala or Akusala karma, once we become attached to them, they are Mara. And they will lengthen our time in samsara. Okay? That is why beginning is good. We do meritorious good. Why? Because we want to go to heaven. We want to have a good life after that. Okay, doing good alone will not assure us enlightenment. It will only ensure us a good life after, a fortunate life. Okay, that is why it is actually highly encouraged when we do meritorious deeds to have an aspiration that we meet with the wise and not with the fools until the day we attain enlightenment. That is a very good aspiration instead of going to heaven or having a good life after. Because most of us, even when we, in our prayers, everything, all of us want to be, may you be well and safe, may you be well, safe and healthy. All this, of course, I don't deny that, in fact, we need our body to be healthy to practice. Because if our body is not healthy, we are not able to practice. Yeah. I hope that helps, Brother Ko. Okay, anyone wants to share? Anyone else? Anyone? Sister Doris, you want to share anything? Or Sister Linda? Anyone? We actually, this session, we started in March, and today is our last session. It's already 7 months. And we are only covering MARADHASATI chanting. Okay. We use by the way, Brother Henry, we use the words in the MARADHASATI chanting book. We study the Pali meaning And then we go into the suttas, where we can find these verses. And besides learning the meaning of the words, we also learn the Dharma as we go deep into the suttas. So that when we chant the MARANASATI, if we chant without understanding during the wake, and it becomes a ritual. It's good lah, but it becomes a ritual. So we have to go beyond that. We got to understand what we chant. Yeah, that is the meaning. That is only the first step. No, understanding what we chant is not good enough. We got to understand the Dharma behind it. Why we chant? Why the Buddha teaches all these things? There must be a purpose for us to practice, to walk the path. You see, just like the Buddha, there's so many suttas. The Buddha tell us that, that we should not lament. There is no lamentation. Even the Buddha says, if lamentation can do any good for you, go ahead and lament. But lamentation harms the body. You see, but yet, being human, being a putujana, being a worldly, whenever someone dies, we will wail and cry and cry. Of course, it's human, but maybe during the wake funeral, I can understand. But some of them are so attached, to it and affected them through years, Many, many years, not 5 years, sometimes 10 years, 15 years after the person passed away, still affect the living one, So that is going the wrong way already. That is not Dharma at all. That is really not Dharma. You are too attached. And that's why in MARANASATI, we talk about the reflecting on the 32 impurities of the body, and all these things. Why? Because we don't want to be attached to this body. Okay, we know, all of us know we are going to die one day. Okay, right? So we should go deep into MARANASATI, into preparing to have a good death. We do what we can while we can. Okay. Anyone want to share? Doris, Sister Doris? Apa-apa nak cakap? Sister Doris, are you there? Sister Linda? Anyone else? Or Sister Subitra want to say anything?
Good evening to all. I would like to apologize over a lot of mistakes and technical error over the past 13 lessons. Really sorry. I'm really sotong in IT aspect, so I just do what I can do, and I'm very careless, make a lot of mistakes, typo error, but that usually I will do the correction later. So when I give you the link, normally I have checked many times thoroughly and try to minimize as much as possible. I would like to draw your attention to the Google Classroom. Can you see my screen? So Google Classroom, actually, you'll find that there's a Google Classroom specially made to house and keep all the relevant records here. So when you have joined this MARANASATI Dhamma and Pāli class with Brother Lim, you'll find that when you go to stream, you will see all the announcements and chats. If you click the tab classwork, you'll find that a lot of topics have been arranged. You'll find that the records, the past record of all the relevant recording are there. You just click to view the material and you can play. So starting from lesson number 1 until I'm about to release lesson 13 in a few days. Usually after I've edited and uploaded the video recording to YouTube. Please let me know if you find errors. I'll try to correct it because I'm very careless. A lot of time I couldn't spot my own mistakes. So please alert me. Okay. If in case there were errors, I will try to correct them later. If you refer to people, you'll find that this page, you see everyone else except yourself. These are all your classmates. Yourself is not shown. So, but we don't have grades because we don't give assignment. We don't give any marks. So when you see, usually the setting of Google Classroom will have 4 tabs. So usually we are concerned is the stream for announcement and classwork for the records. You can find also at the bottom of it, there will be references. The references is where we keep record of the slides as well as the chanting books where you can do some reference. If you want to join, you can refer to the WhatsApp group. You go to the header, you tap, then you'll find that they will have your group info. When you click read more, the invitation link will be there. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sister Sumitra. So,
Brother Lim, can I
yeah,
say a few words?
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I think we have to thank Teacher Sumitra for the great
Yes,
effort in
yes.
compiling all the records into the Google Classroom. That is actually very helpful for even for people who join much later, that they can actually access to the earlier lessons as well. So thank you, Sister Sumitra. Sadhu,
You're
sadhu
most welcome.
for your
You're
effort.
most welcome. I'm just running the old job that I do when I was working. Even though retired, but the habit is still there. So I
Habitual
apologize over the
tendencies.
error.
But your habitual tendencies is very, very sadhu one. A lot of merits.
Okay, thank you.
I think not only that, I think she has improved a lot also in terms
Yes,
of,
yes.
I think those are incentives for the efforts that you have put in.
Yes.
The more
Thank
you
you.
put in, the more you actually pick up, and the speed that you pick up is actually fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. The same to you. You have been a very good companion because you gave us a lot of encouragement, and also you contributed your ideas along the other courses also that I joined with you. Thank you, Brother Call. And so I would like to thank Brother Lim for his effort and contribution. He really did a lot of vast reading to prepare all the materials for sharing. So actually, we are indeed very grateful because he responded to the request from Sister Yvonne to start this series. Otherwise, we will only be chanting without understanding much of what we have been reciting for. So it is indeed a great effort throughout these 13 lessons. I've seen how tremendous amount of work Brother Lim have done for preparation. Thank you very much.
Sadhu,
And I would
sadhu,
like
sadhu.
to also, thanks everyone for your participation. It is a great pleasure to know everyone is interested in understanding and to practice the Dhamma in our everyday life. Hopefully, all of us have already benefited from this occasion and all this series of events. We sincerely hope that Brother Lim will proceed with a new series after we put an end to this MARANASATI. What about you, Brother Lim? Any suggestion or anyone from the floor would like to say something?
As to the next course plan, we will announce in due time. But definitely we'll take a short 2 weeks break or something like that. After
Okay.
all, it's going to be end of the year. I think we need a short break after 7 months. Okay. So a new series, we will think about it. You can put your suggestions in the WhatsApp group. Okay, and if Dr. Henry wishes to have access to the Google Classroom, then you just let me know, okay, and I will add you into the MARANGASATI WhatsApp group, and from there, Sister Sumitra will send you all the details lah. Okay, if you are keen lah. Other than that, okay, one last word is whatever we have learned, whatever Dharma we have learned is of not much use if you do not practice what we have learned. It's like what the Buddha have said that, if you do not practice the Dharma, it's like a cow herd. Huh? The cow herd, you are counting the cows of other people. And there's no value in your holy life, it carries no weight in our holy life. So we have to live out our holy life. No one can live the holy life for us. No one can walk the path for us. We got to walk the path ourselves. We can only learn how to walk. That's all. We can only learn about the Dharma. That's all. Okay, but we have to walk the path. We got to gain at least Sotapanna in this very life. If not, it's such a waste lah, to have such a human life, to be reborn in in a country like Singapore and Malaysia, very safe, no war, so peaceful. And we come into contact with the Buddha Dharma. What else could we want? So one last word is, whenever we want to go on holiday, now it's holiday time, right? Everyone holiday mood, book airplane, okay, going for a vacation in Europe or Korea or whatever. Sometimes you pack very early, 1 week before. You start going shopping, okay, and you get so excited. You go and Google and find out your holiday destination. You do so much preparation, and you're so agitated and not so agitated, so excited that you are longing to go for the vacation. Let us do the same. We are going for another vacation, another holiday. And where's the next vacation? Our next life, lor. Let's plan. Of course, we cannot determine where we want to go. But one thing we can do is, we know that our thoughts and our mind, our karma, will carry a long way to determine where we will go in our next life. So let us do what we can. Do good deeds, practice meditation, live out the Buddha Dharma. And by doing all this, we get excited. Because on our deathbed, whoa, I don't know where am I going to now. I'm going on a very holiday. Some may want to be born in Tusita heaven. Some may be, wish to be reborn as a human being. And this time, become a very highly accomplished monk who finally attained Nibbana. Wow, how wonderful. Right? So forward towards it. Be scared. Realize the delusion that we have now. What we see is all delusion, because what we see is all tainted with Lobha, Dosa, and Moha. There's so much delusion. What we see is not the true fact. Let us get excited to go for our next vacation, and that vacation can come anytime. So we cannot determine it. So prepare for it. And how we prepare? Live a Buddhistic life. Live a holy life. Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. We all of us attain Sotapanna in this very life by living the Buddha Dharma. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.